Welcome back to Final Fantasy XIII. So now we're playing as Vanille, and by all means, Dwebs, I know you want to talk about her running cycle. Go on.
It looks, even by the standards of 2010, it looks so derpy. You know, I get it's trying to emphasise Vanille's character. You know, she's more la-di-da, for lack of a better word.
Playful.
But it looks really awkward.
A bit over the top, yes. I think we did actually mention that in the original run.
It's actually like I mentioned earlier in this run when I critiqued a lot of the poses that characters make during the battle scenes. Like, again, special mention goes to Godot breaking his back from the look of how he was crouching for no good reason.
It's like I think that's a good point, Jova. You see, Sora does the same thing. The poor kid breaks his back every single time he handles the Keyblade, you know. But I guess that's a bit more or less noticeable because of the art style that is used. If anything, this maybe potentially tells me that the game is also afraid of the fact that it has this more, photorealistic kind of art style for his character, so it wants to still emphasize, no guys, look at that, we're still having anime-like stuff, please like us.
That actually is a good point. Now, for Sora, it works because when he's doing that, he's dual-wielding. So he does it in a way where it makes sense that he's crouching down like that, or whatnot. Granted, when he's holding single-blade style, that's more like in a defensive maneuver, so there it makes sense. Gado's doesn't make any sense whatsoever, but yeah, you were kind of going where I was going to go eventually. I do wonder if at some point somebody on the team realized, guys, maybe going all photorealistic of Final Fantasy was a bad idea in hindsight, and yeah, to compensate, they try and over-animate the characters here and there.
They mentioned something. While I was editing the previous part, I noticed a little bit in the Deadwall that we missed. Allow me to read this bit. Hope has fallen into a panic. In a single-minded pursuit of snow, he has rushed into the level. Pulseless Sea are the doomed servants of the False Sea who created them, despised and feared by the people of Cocoon. You know what? I'll count that.
But yeah, I also noticed
it might use different words, but it's still the same basic message. Go on.
Anyway, yes, too.
It's more, both sides are on me shit.
It's more of a reflection and just an hypothesis, more than actual confirmation 101. But I do wonder. Since, if you recall what I did mention also in the original round for the marketing, and I would have said that I would have repeated anyway, but Sans was literally the last character that was actually announced.
Despite the fact that he probably has almost as much screen time as Lightning.
The early test,
cutscene
traders. Oh, sorry.
Scared?
Oh, that door.
And now the Vanille, out of nowhere, starts to spot exposition.
False
the music.
Are bad news. That's why Cocoon kicked them out. Live too close to the Falsey, one-way ticket to Pulse. That's the purge in a nutshell.
Wow, that is some bad script writing right there. You couldn't find a more natural way of explaining that in dialogue. Like, she literally brings it up out of nowhere.
It's also weird because, okay, Vanille, I appreciate, but that.
And allow me to remember. Now, I know what some of you might be thinking. Maybe Hope is supposed to be the character that doesn't know these things. Therefore, he's supposed to be the audience proxy. That's the thing. No, he already knows this crap. So Vanille literally has no reason to tell him this. Go on.
Also, if I may, this game kind of has a bit of Sonic 06-isms where the characters, for some reason, occasionally have these blank looks on their faces. Like, again, when Vanille was hugging Hope, he just has a blank look. Like, and I get it, we can't see his mouth, but at least animate his eyes to show emotion game.
Yeah.
I get the idea that the supposed idea for that moment was that he was still in a blank slate.
In the meantime...
Well, the problem is that Vanille also had a blank look on her face during the hug.
God, Pedro.
In the meantime, Snow, for whatever reason, is stuck inside the Millennium Puzzle. I don't know, like, it's just...
To be fair, he's here looking for Sarah.
No, I get that. It's just that the way this area looks, it looks just like the inside of the Millennium Puzzle in Yu-Gi-Oh!
Green.
Honestly, if I may, another critique I have about this game is that a lot of the areas here just feel like they're trying to go for mad and trippy. And yes, that can occasionally be a thing in an RPG. But usually that's saved for stuff like, the final dungeon or weird outdoor dungeons. No. It's kind of like this for most, if not all, the game.
It's a bit of a love-hate kind of thing because this game really, I can assure you, this game really tries with the aesthetic to have an identity, especially with with some older concepts of the Japanese people have a lot of imagining religion as something unimaginable to humans and trying to fuse that with technology, as in God as a machine rather than being, a pure divine being of organic matter. That is an actual great idea, and this game really tries to do that, incorporating that also in this ambience. Cocooning itself, the place where we are right now, it was explained a bit in the data, but we will see later, also is a great concept for where instead of your rather, potentially generic map of a world, that was the problem that they kind of had with Spira, for example. So this might be a great idea, but in some areas, like Jova just mentioned for this one, they tend to overcompensate, admittedly. But let me also finish quickly what I was saying before. Again, so that was the last character that was mentioned in the interviews and everything. And the early test showcased Lightning alone in the initial sequence. I wonder if the entire original bit was supposed to have just Lightning, doing the whole track on their own, and then potentially Saz, reaching the post-file C on his own, or maybe joining later, with Lightning not being there for the beginning.
Saz was only created at that point.
And the reason instead why he tags along is for potentially two purposes. One, to have a minor exposition, which we do get even if it's poorly conveyed, and you better just rely on the data log. And two, having the comedy relief in the meantime, because otherwise Lightning would have been too stoic. But as such, they did not really compensate because they still wanted to have Lightning in a specific type of mood of being single-minded and determined to find what she's looking for in the file C, in the post-file C, So as a result, we get the weird mishmash of Lightning being an absolute dick towards Saz, mostly for comedy purpose,
Honestly, Tio, I'm kind of in a similar case as you, except I just chalk it up to they wanted a black guy because they realized we should get diversity, and also
that's how Saz looks. I'm talking about him as a character alone,
Well, honestly, even then, I'd say that they got him in to be
hold on, guys.
Speaking of,
let's check out this cutscene.
Oh, this.
Alright, check this out, Whoops.
Still won't budge?
Man, you've been doing that for 2 hours.
Again, Saz has the best line.
Yeah, hold on.
Please need to listen to this.
It was me.
What?
This is my fault.
Yes. Yes, it is.
Cover your ears.
Huh? Oh, blast charge? Oh, wait, hold on.
I don't want anyone to hear me having any sense of humanity.
Touch.
I'm so sorry.
And that's why she wanted him to cover his ears, because she didn't want him to hear. Oh God.
And it works. Okay, me and Pedro were discussing this on commentary.
The power of matters.
Yeah, okay, like we mentioned in the original run, the way the cutscene actually is presented, it really makes it look like the door just, opened because Lightning apologized to it. Me and Pedro were actually discussing this off commentary, and at least I have come up with two possible explanations. One, the actual file C is actually responding to that inviting. We will learn later. It's not really much of a spoiler. We will learn later that file C is...
I have to explain this. Shrouds are special single-user aura souls that can only be used outside of battle and grant the party technical advantages. Fortis Soul and Aegis Soul bestow their bonuses at the start of the battle. The Septa Soul, on the other hand, shields the party from enemy detection, eliminating any concerns of being spotted and attacked. It is useful for avoiding combat and also for launching preemptive strikes.
Basically, abuse these if you can, because they will literally be saviors for the combat.
Enemies like Pantherons, whose fields of vision allow them to monitor wide areas, normally turn hostile and display warning icons as soon as they are approached. Apply a spray of Deceptisol, however, and you will have no trouble getting a preemptive strike.
It's essentially the repair.
If you play the game normally...
To open the Shroud menu, press the left button while exploring, and then select with the D-pad, blah, blah, blah.
If you play the game normally, you will have a limited quantity, and if I recall correctly, you will unlock a shop that can sell you these way later, almost at the end game portion, meaning that you're almost at to rely them for the post game.
The trainer that I'm using allows me to have infinite usage of items.
Yeah, I
so.
was about to mention in the case of these, probably Pedro has already infinite a number of amount. But yeah, basically these are lifesavers. But let me explain quickly. Again, one potential case is the Falsi actually allowed that, but they actually did listen to Lightning allow that to happen because, as we will learn later.
Hold on, Taylor, because I like the way the data log addresses it. The pulse Falsi entity that threatens with a line that someone just knows themselves deeper into the dimension. They unlikely do as progress is halted by an impassable gate, which finally opens as if in response to Lightning's whispered words of apology. So you see, the reason. So the and for the game will never give you a straight up answer about it. Like
I was about to battle on this second page.
Did her plea reach the mind of the Falsi? There you go. There's Tero's question, Tero's theory, or was it another being responsible for opening the portal? Says. No, I'm done. Go on.
But again, that's one idea. We will learn later, but the Falsi's rewards submission, and obedience. So it could have been potentially that. Or, as we see also the spark that happened, it was a coincidence it happened at the same moment that Snow activated the energy in the sector, which really would also fit. And I get the idea that the game wants to keep it vague just for having this kind of sentiment, but I kind of still agree at the end of the day that they could have actually, at the very least the data could have had the courtesy of giving an explanation.
If I may.
Tori, I'm gonna open the door.
Okay, you know what? If I may.
Go on, Jova.
We can theorize all we want about what really happened, but can we all just agree that the fact that the story framed it as her apologizing being what unlocked it at all is goddamn stupid? Not only that, but she has Sass cover his ears because she doesn't want to hear him apologizing to it. Game, when you give me opportunities like that, the joke is obvious. She knew it was stupid, and she didn't want to hear her being as stupid. And yeah, that's the thing about Lightning, honestly. She is kind of dumb in this plot here. Don't get me wrong, the story likes to portray her as smart, but as I pointed out in our original run of this game, Lightning's that character that the story wants to portray as smart, but in reality is pretty slow to pick up some obvious things from the plot.
Yeah, the game is trying to pose her as the badass action heroine, of the game. But she just comes across as...
I would argue that the game does not really try to portray as Marta, because again, she's basically just the stoic soldier, single-minded and everything. And if anything, the point of the game later on will be the fact that she's more dependent on the rest of the party to actually do the right thing. When she has to take decisions, they are more impulsive, and not framed well nor rewarded unless it's a very specific case. If anything, they're the sequels that try to also, push her more as a Mary Sue, thanks to what Toriyama did.
Okay, ignoring that, the story does actually try to portray her as the smart leader, the one who knows what she's doing. Oh yes, I do know about that bit later, but the game kind of forgets about that bit itself too, and it acts like she's the most capable leader of the bunch, because she's the smarter, she knows what's going on, except when she blatantly doesn't.
It's more so Jova that she's always acting condescending towards everybody,
The problem is that the story does not often call her out for it. It does occasionally call her out for it, but not nearly enough to the point where you think that the story is well aware of what it's doing with her, essentially. Yeah. Heck, as Pedro alluded to earlier, a certain character has to constantly take the fall for other characters' faults here and there. That character being Snow. And yes, he's an idiot, but if there's one thing I don't care for in a plot is, I don't care how stupid a character is, when you have just as bad, if not worse, characters dumping on that character, it just feels pitiful, honestly.
It's kind of like how in Fair Friends Rev they were constantly dumping on Fang as well, and deservedly. It's just that they themselves aren't really any better. So
I like this. It does that stupid anime trope where they were dumping on him even when he didn't deserve it.
Yeah. In the meantime, to also address that previous cutscene with Vanille and Hope. Okay. Again, just like with Final Fantasy VIII, I have to once again bring this up again because remember, Toriyama is Kitase's pupil. Okay, so look, guys, because remember, Kitase was the producer of this game, by the way, so he's also involved here. Okay, look, guys, again, for the millionth time, create a goddamn character that serves as the audience's proxy. This is basic script writing. This is like one of the first things you get taught in writing classes. Okay? Like, creating your own original world with unique concepts and not have a single character have any questions about anything is literally asking for trouble as a writer, because if you don't literally think of any major sci-fi and fantasy stories and there's always a character cutscene.
If those things are still around, might be some soldiers trapped in here too.
Right, I think
Maybe
it's this.
by now. Huh? Not even human anymore. Just post-Lassie. Enemies of Cocoon.
Take a shot!
Yep.
Can't show 'em
Oh
any-
shit.
Thank you for that cutscene.
Yeah, let me this be a second where he's actually not this other cut.
You just put in that cutscene so that me and Liz would take a shot, didn't you, Gabe?
Poor Snow has to do all the heavy lifting for this dungeon.
You know what, Jova has a point. What the fuck was even the point of that cutscene? To once again tell us that post-Lassie are enemies of Cocoon. Hey, Dwebs, did you know?
My guess is that was supposed to be a transition into Snow's cutscene, but come on, you could have literally just had them walking and then we could transition into what Snow was saying. We didn't need that.
This. This will actually also be used in cutscenes later on, but yes, with a big emphasis is on a group of basically 2 weeks, almost, the 13 days as we're called, as indicated because the game is called 13, where it's take place in the 13 days that precedes the very start of the game, as in to showcase what happened to the characters. The problem is that it's presented in the best way that you always love, very schizophrenically along the side of the game, when it's actually the more convenient.
Yes.
So out of order! Hooray!
But basically, Dwebs, believe it or not, Dwebs, Eternals basically probably ripped this structure off.
Or, well, to be fair, it was also, akin to Watchmen on that kind of front. But still, it seems that aside from Watchmen, nobody's capable of replicating this successfully 100%.
So, Pedro, question. Which is more schizophrenic, the 13 days or the entirety of Beyond Two Souls' plot?
No, I'm still gonna have to say Beyond Two Souls is more schizophrenic.
This is at least a bit more comprehensive.
No, at least with the 13 days thing in this game, you can understand, because usually the 13 days flashbacks usually come when the character is lamenting something and it kind of transitions into a character having a flashback. So there is a logic to it, even though it's not executed as well as it should. Beyond Two Souls, on the other hand, just changes time periods for literally no reason. There's literally no logic to how the plot is structured. None whatsoever.
Don't you see, Pedro? Showing the story out of order automatically makes it genius somehow.
No, it doesn't. A non-linear narrative can be good, as in the case of Memento.
Oh, we're about to get another cutscene. Sorry.
In the case, yeah. If we are, then yeah.
No, I wanted to say something, but I noticed that there's another cutscene arriving.
Sure. Elevator.
Take me home.
Sorry to you. Despacito doesn't seem to be here.
Hang on,
I don't know if Snow Model froze at the moment he arrived on the elevator.
There's something I want to say about Snow, but I'm not sure if it's the best time to say it.
Well, you'll have plenty of time. Just hold on.
Your hero's on the way.
Echo!
Also, yes,
Vanilla.
shots.
Yeah, Vanilla. Well, it's a Toriyama directed game too. So.
Yeah. Again, I'm surprised how restrained he managed to be for the 7 remake.
Well, remember, Teo, in that game, you actually had to answer to somebody.
Calling himself a hero.
In fact,
Crawling him, I crawl.
somebody was hired specifically for the job of telling Toriyama. No, also sorry, hiccups.
Tell him what you need to.
Okay, so, actually my problem with Snow also does tie into the issue with Hope here. But I'll wait till the cutscene's over, because there might be
Again,
some
it's in general, it's the Torador effect in the sense
hold
that characters
on.
talk to each other, but they don't.
Hold on. I have to comment on what Vanille just said. We could just run away. What are you talking about? You literally forced me, as in Hope, you literally forced me to come in here, you fucking stupid bitch.
Not even as a motivation it really works. So, the closest I can imagine it was like, oh, it's a phrase to motivate him to tell him, come on, move along.
Okay, look. I don't support what Vanille did. Technically, she didn't force him to come. She manipulated him, yes, but didn't force him to come. And I guess she's giving him an out in case he wants to back out, like, in case it's starting to feel too dangerous. Like, and trust me. Look, when the time comes, I will give Vanille her own tanning, okay? Don't get me wrong. I'm just saying. I want to make sure that we call her out for the right things, essentially.
Okay. How about this? Here, I'll roll with it. Okay. We could just turn back. Turn back how? The flying vehicle that we came in here is broken, so how do we even leave this place? Exactly.
Don't you see, Pedro? Vanille is secretly a mechanic who can fix this stuff.
Sure, she is.
Let's talk about Saz's reaction in that cutscene beforehand, because that needs to be addressed now. It will become apparent later. Compared to Barrett, Barrett in 1077 was essentially Mr. T, pure and simple. Sure, you can tell that he was stereotyped and and apparently he divided a bit the audience, but ultimately it was a very positive idea, and it was the first major case of an African American guy in a JRPG, being portrayed actually fairly decently. Even his story arc is actually quite impactful.
Oh yeah,
and he gets resolved later on.
That's awesome.
Says, on the other hand, reeks of all of the token black guy stereotypes from the 90s. It doesn't help that his voice actor is a cool question. Reno Williams, which is a good voice actor on his own, is commonly associated to apparently comic relief characters from the Bayformers movies. Including one, I forgot if it's Kids or Muppet, but it's one of those two, Pedro, yes.
Really? Okay, you know what? To be fair, that's the voice actor, okay?
No, I'm not blaming the voice actor. Don't worry, Joe, I'm not blaming him. Don't worry.
I can't imagine it would have been the thought process, that Square Enix was like, oh, sure, pick this guy because it fits the role. But yes, despite having quite possibly one of the more intense story arcs of the entire game, Saz is treated like absolute trash from both in the universe and out of it.
Trust me, even when we start trying to delve into his tragic backstory, even then there's still a specific character that I won't mention yet for the sake of dwebs, who's responsible for screwing over that. So even when we're supposed to focusing on him, we're still dumping on him. But cutscene.
Yeah. Ominous.
Although you may have noticed, we're getting a plethora of cutscenes. Again, I'm not gonna act like it's beyond two souls levels of bad.
Well, most of this game is cutscenes, Joe.
Oh, and who are these? These might be.
Let's see. Zombies.
Basically, yes, this game's version of the undeads.
What are they?
Although this game has a rather unique kind of way. Yeah, thief.
So I guess Hope doesn't know what they are.
They turn into zombies.
Yes.
There you go.
Apparently, these words sucks so much that if you're actually in contact with a fal'Cie and don't do apparently exactly as they tell you, you turn into one of these things.
That being said, I will give credit where credit is due. There you go. C game, that's how you do it. You have a character who doesn't know what's going on, ask, and the other one answers. It's their thief, their lessee who failed their focus. This is what happens to them. There you go. See, you can do good exposition. Seriously.
I have just one question.
Go on.
So the thief were coming from two directions. Why didn't they just run up or down the stairs to get away from them? Why did they let them surround them?
You gotta leave.
And now Hope is suffering from teenage angst.
Also, shouldn't be you gotta leave, not you gotta leave.
Find some place to hide and keep quiet.
I guess now's a good time for me to mention it. I'm not sure if it was the intent, but it feels like Final Fantasy XIII wants to be a deconstruction of the hero form.
Yes, it actually wants to be because they're wandering Drova.
Yeah.
She's my future wife.
Case in point, they made the typical guy who actually wants to be the hero a dumbass.
The joke, basically.
And people constantly call him out for daring to do good stuff like
Take a shot, Dibs.
Oh, shit.
Yes, Hope, come on.
Why do you want
Getting emotional. Don't trust me. I don't want to be evil to the kid because emotional trauma can actually not allow you to spill out when you actually should. It actually is up to
more on tail, more teenage angst.
Can hitch a ride?
I'd rather go to Pulse. Why is this happening to me?
How could this happen to me?
Okay. To be fair, like Tio mentioned, he's a kid and he's dealt with way more than any kid should have to in one day. That said, how the game goes about dealing with him is terrible to say the least.
For the purpose of the game, for now it's fine. But as Jova basically hinted, it's more the thing that this will drag along for way longer than it needs to.
Yeah.
And this is essentially the crux of Hope's character for the most part of this game. Have fun, kids! The one who represents your age demographic is constantly whining and barely any help to the crew.
Let me...
Actually, I forgot. Was this rated... give me a second.
Pega 12. I think it's Pega, either 12 or 16, one of the two. Okay, allow me to also add to that what Jova was... Oh, never mind.
Nope, Peggy 16.
There you go.
Really? I recall this being rated T for teen over here.
At least both 13 and 13 too. I don't know lighting eternals.
Okay. Let's see what an ESRB rating is over here.
The Fal'Cie has her captive. But
So yeah, Lightning's sister is OSC.
And Lightning is searching the same person as No. How ironic.
How ironic.
Okay, so yeah, over here the game was rated T for teen, so teenagers over here.
I'll mention more about later because there's a bit of a story attached to the rating.
Yeah, you probably should have, Lightning.
Ooh, that's not ominous at all.
Listen to me. When a person gets cursed by a Fal'Cie, they become a l'Cie.
Yes, we already...
Lightning know this already?
Yeah, that's the problem with this exposition.
Wait, hold on, but now this is their awkward way of mentioning the focus.
If they don't carry it out,
she's gone.
Those things.
God, the script writing in this game.
What I'm saying.
That said, don't worry, folks. The focus is okay. You think introducing the focus is bad? Wait till you actually hear how the concept of a focus works. It's amazingly
and even so, look at this. Saz is actually trying to rationalize and still be as tactful as he can.
If she completes her focus, there's no change.
The poor fucker cannot actually put it in decent terms because it simply cannot be.
Yes, Lightning?
Please don't punch him.
Don't make her suffer.
Just say it.
Well, that's close enough.
Anyone who might ever become a l'Cie should be wiped off the face of Cocoon.
Yeah, let's cutscene to talk about Ali Hills as well.
Not only that, but again, going off of what we learned in a later cutscene, Lightning should not be this surprised about.
Yeah, let's talk about Lightning's voice actress, Ali Hillis. Up until this point, her career was actually pretty substantial. She voiced a couple of characters in video games like
Mass Effect.
I forgot. Yes, Mass Effect. Liarzoni, Dr. Liarzoni. But also she was mostly a TV actor. But she voiced a couple of characters also in Xenosaga, actually, believe it or not, on the PS2. So she has experience with RPGs as well. I do believe she fits overall Lightning, and over time I actually come to actually appreciate her for the role. You have to remember that in Japanese she's actually voiced by Maya Sakamoto, which is basically the Jennifer Hale of Japan, as in serviceable but overused, you know. But Swally is gives a bit more identity to the character. The problem is that in both this, at least for this, I don't remember, well, a bit also for 13.2 and admittedly, and for the CDL 12, she's directed very poorly. Let's just say that. Sometimes she goes way over the top when she doesn't need to, and other times she basically flip-flops between this underacting and overacting constantly, which does not help overall with the character, unfortunately.
What about her character in Gears of War Judgment?
Well, that's Laura Bailey's character.
No, Judgment.
I got confused with the new series, but that was a voice later. That's a good segue. Bo. After this, their career did actually skyrocketed a bit. Actually, she voiced a couple of characters, but one particular character in the Tales of games, Shin Megami Tensei 4 Apocalypse, Saints Row 4, for example.
She was Palutena in Smash 4.
Yeah. In recent times, actually, she only voiced
Icarus Uprising, but not. Smash.
Yeah, remember, as I mentioned constantly, Palutena for the Smash 4 and Ultimate was actually replaced with a sound-alike for some reason I don't understand.
No. Actually, by the time of Ultimate, they essentially used archive footage.
But whatever. As of recent times, her career started to slow down a bit, as we noticed, but in 2021 it started to pick up again. Why? Because aside from voicing a couple of cameos in some Family Guy episodes, which is more like a job for a paycheck, she did get to voice a particular character in the HD version of Shin Megami Tensei 3. Pretty cool, actually. And ever since Into the Nexus, she has been voiced of Miss Zircon in the Ratchet & Clank games, which is pretty cool, actually. It's actually one of the small side...
She was even a Kiss Bang back in the...
Oh, that was way later. I'm talking just about recent times. Go on.
Anyway, I should probably explain. The thing with Smash Ultimate is that it was a mix of a sound-alike, but also archived lines from her. Essentially, here's how it goes with it. Due to her being part of the Union, they were iffy on paying her, so they were able to reuse lines essentially, but for any new lines made for stuff like Apollitena's guidance or whatnot, hers and Viridi's voice actress got replaced by sound-alikes. Mind you, for stuff that was already recorded by them in, say, Smash 4, they were pretty much reused of that, but for Smash Ultimate, it was a mixture of the old voice actors plus the sound-alikes. Palutena's one was fine, though Viridi's you can tell when it's the sound-alike.
Also, and just to foreshadow, sure, Troy Baker also was in Kiriko Surprising, but just to foreshadow, this is not the last time we'll see someone who voice acted for the English version of Kiriko Surprising, just to let you know.
Yeah. In the meantime, let me just finish something. Okay. See, here's the thing about, to go back to what Joe was talking about in terms of... in terms of hope, yeah. Let me use an example, a positive example for a game that we've already commented on. Okay, look at because there's actually some similarities to it. Look at Oliver, the protagonist of Ni no Kuni 1, who also starts off this game the story the exact same way, losing his mom, right in front of him as well. In fact, and yes, he does have that grieving period at the beginning where he cries. Of course, he's that point at time where Drippy asks him if he wants to come and save the world, and he says, "No, I don't want to," and forgot the beginning hours of the game. Oliver is, of course, kind of lacks a spine because he's a very young kid and all that stuff. But of course, he gets better and better as the game goes on. In this case, yeah, like Jova foreshadowed earlier, Hope's development in this game is nowhere near as smooth, let's just say, like Jova hinted earlier. And one final thing before we close this part, that scene between Lightning and Saz, so much is wrong with the way that's the one where Saz was trying to be have tact and talk about. Okay, I'm talking about dialogue wise. Like the dialogue in that scene is so awful. Like Saz starts once again explaining stuff that not only has the game already told us, but at the same time it's stuff that Lightning already knows. And once again, there's no reason for Saz to start talking to her like this. It's just like and oh god, the game's writing is so bad. Like seriously,
it's a good scene dragged down to being laughable by shoddy dialogue because the tone is there and you can tell what the characters are getting at. It's just that the dialogue is so hokey.
This is what I'm generally starting to wonder if the reason there's a data log is because they looked at the script and they realized, oh my god, this script is so awful. Let's just use the data log to provide information, because when they do try to provide information via the story, it's worded so terribly and like it lacks any and all techniques. See, like here, I remember what I was going to say earlier, actually, before we cut off. I remember what I was going to say earlier. You see, take a look at, we can talk about any sci-fi franchises. Like, for example, in Star Trek, the 2009, let's use the 2009 Star Trek movie, because that's the one that most the young people are familiar with nowadays. Okay, notice how at the beginning Kirk in that movie is kind of the everyday man. Which of course means that people have to explain stuff to him about how the whole Federation works, all the Starfleet works, all that good stuff. You know, that's how you do these kinds of things. You provide a character who's basically us. Basically, who would react and act like we would in these situations. That way, it's much easier to connect an emotional connection with the audience. Again, you can say, oh, the fish out of water character trope is so overused. There's a good reason why it's overused. It's essential when presenting your world. You know,
that's why a lot of characters tend to get amnesia for this specific purpose, just to have a character that's already in the world. But for some reason needs to be retold everything.
Yeah, it's interesting you mentioned that too. As of right now, I'm also playing Tales of Arise, and by the way, Tales of Arise is awesome. But the thing is, and guess what? The protagonist in that game has amnesia, which of course the story uses specifically for that purpose. Again, it's simple. Again, you can say it's overused, but there's a good reason why.
Again, we don't really have to travel far away from here to begin with. Again, Final Fantasy X, the perfect excuses for Tidus to learn everything. But again, this is something we can discuss, later on.
Yeah, I can. One more final example before we cut up to Final Fantasy IX. Garnet, most of the time, is the one that needs stuff explained to her because she has never ventured outside of Alexandria Castle, so of course she knows nothing about the world. See, this is so simple, Toriyama. Why is this so hard for you? Why? I really want to know this. Why is this so hard for you?
And again, he's written better than this before too, so your guess is as good as mine. What happened with this game in particular?
Okay, I think I've rented on long enough. Let's continue.
See ya for the next part.
See ya.